Islamist ISIS terrorists are plotting massacres of Christians and Jews here in Britain.
He's also said that you've mentioned about being a supporter of ISIS.
No, I don't answer this question.
Are you a supporter of ISIS?
Do you want to answer? Yes.
You are?
Yes.
Okay, tell me about that.
No, I don't tell you anything. They are Muslim. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, they are Muslim.
What is it about them that you support?
They are Muslim. They make Sharia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they make Sharia.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there a difference between ISIS and some other people who say they're Muslims?
Yeah, they're all Muslims. They are hypocrites, but the ISIS, they are real Muslim.
Okay.
They make Sharia.
Walid Sadawi from Tunisia, who came to the UK on a work visa, and Ammar Hussein, born in Kuwait. Those are the two very sick Islamists who, of course, have been busted by the Great British Police. Here's how they stung them. Walid Sadawi, before his arrest to an undercover officer, he described wanting to target young, old women, elderly, the whole lot, and viewed any Christian victims as a bonus. And what we are seeing on screen here, for those of you listening to the show, is weapons, a machine gun being loaded here, bullets, the weapons they were going to use, of course, for this attack before they were stung. Once he was finished slaughtering Jews, he also planned to attack Christians, stating, God willing, after we finish the Jews, we move on to the Crusaders. He expressed a long-held ambition to commit terrorist attacks, admitting in a recorded phone call that he contemplated car-ramming attacks in Tunisia and in the UK, but eventually settled on guns after he was inspired by the massacre of Jews on October the 7th, 2023 in Israel, of course. He wanted guns because he claimed he could kill as many as possible. Judge Mark Wall, KC, said if the plots were successful, it would have likely been one of the deadliest terror attacks ever carried out on British soil, noting they were very close to being ready. It's terrifying stuff, isn't it? MI5's terror watch list holds around 45,000 individuals, with the vast majority, up to 39,000 of them, deemed to be Islamist extremists. In prisons, over 200 people serve time for terrorism offences, most holding extreme Islamist views. And all I can say is this: what have our political class unleashed on this country? How many people will have to die before they actually do something? Because it's now not a matter of this kind of massacre will happen, it's when it will happen, isn't it? Action, of course, can be taken immediately. We can do what Donald Trump has done very bravely and block visas from countries where Islamist extremism is thriving like a cancer at this time in the world. If the government won't act, then it's clear to me they will only have themselves to blame.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private internet access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cyber criminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C-18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private internet access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
And joining me now, before we go to my panel, is extremism prevention educator Sohail Ahmed. Sohail, thanks for coming and joining me this evening. You've been on my show before, so I was really pleased you could come back. We do have a radicalisation problem here in Britain. Is it too late for us to change anything about this?
Quick answer, no, I don't think it's too late. But I cannot lie to you and say that the problem is small or that it's insignificant. In fact, when it comes to Islamist extremism, it's a mainstream trend within the wider Muslim community. Mainstream, a minority, but a very significant minority. The threat level that we are facing and the severity of the threat is far more extensive than most people are willing to admit, or even most people are aware of.
And we've seen, of course, reports of people being up for early release as well. We have reports of prisons where the segregated blocks, where there's so much extremism happening and they're just running wild. Is the British government prepared and ready to tackle this problem? Are these prevention programmes going to be enough, Sohail?
No, I don't think that they are enough. I mean, the prevention programmes we do have are essentially world-class, but it can definitely improve. It can definitely improve a lot. So some of the training that I deliver is actually to frontline workers in the Prevent programme. But essentially, there needs to be far more extensive and drastic action taken on this threat. Firstly, the political class needs to actually admit to themselves the extent of the threat. Most of them aren't even aware, and I work with parliamentarians. Secondly, we need a culture shift in this country. We actually need to realize that actually this country is one of the greatest countries on earth, if not the greatest country on earth, and that it's worth defending. And that it's worth defending the values of this country and our way of life. And if you don't believe anyone else, take it from me, a former Islamist who saw the other side and who now sees what Britain has to offer.
Indeed. Well, stay with us because I'd like to bring in the rest of my panel here as well this evening. Of course, geopolitical strategist and SDP Foreign Affairs spokesman Henry Bolton is making his debut on the show. Good to see you, Henry. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Alex.
Former Conservative MP Jane Stevenson is also here with former Labour advisor Paul Richards. Henry, I'll start with you. This was chilling, this report, and I get so angry because I just feel like the government are sitting on their hands when actually this issue is boiling over, it's seemingly getting worse, and nobody's doing anything about it, and it feels to me people will have to die before the British government takes action.
Undoubtedly, and people have died.
True.
Let's not forget that. A lot of people have died. But first of all, absolutely right. You've got to recognise the threat. You've not just recognise it, but acknowledge it. Because if you're not going to do that, none of the other machinery that would enable you to address it can be mobilised. And I say that because this present government, and it links together. I mean, Islamism is it's a sectarian cult, and not just religious, it's sectarian. And actually we've got a government that is allowing, almost enabling sectarianism to come into our politics, which undermines our ability to fight the terrorist angle of it even more deeply. So at the moment, the government is failing to recognise, acknowledge, or act. And I know from my own experience, I was saying just before we came on, for 3 years I ran the UK's efforts to disrupt transnational organised crime with a focus on people smuggling across the southern Balkans. That was 2003 to 2006. In that process, we very rapidly had mission creep because of a priority which we identified. We were detecting the movement of Islamists who had been infiltrated into people smuggling networks to move into European and particularly Scandinavian countries, not to conduct terrorist attacks themselves, but to agitate, to build Islamist sentiment and to recruit people themselves in those countries, often from the sort of, if you like, the indigenous population, but who were vulnerable, to conduct attacks on their behalf. So we have got that was over 20 years ago, and Tony Blair pulled the funding on that project in 2006. That was the most effective project we had to disrupt this. There has been nothing of any substance since, and the problem has only grown. So hats off to the security services.
They did a good job.
An outstanding job. But at some point,
something's got to give.
God forbid that something will get through the net.
Paul, I'll bring you in. The official threat level is substantial at the moment, and it's worrying when we see things like this where the judge has said it looks like they were almost ready to go. Had our police not been, got in there and taken action, hundreds of people could be dead.
Well, that's right. And it's 21 years since 7/7. So this is a threat that we've been living with for 20, 30 years. I think there's a few things to point out. One is this was actually a triumph of undercover work by the security services. They disrupted this very, very effectively indeed. I'm reminded of that awful IRA quote, though, which is that, we have to be lucky every time. They only have to be lucky once.
Right.
And so, yes, we were lucky this time. But as we know, there are multiple plots right now going on that we need to disrupt. Tony Blair put lots of money into the security services, Henry. So, your scheme may have been cut, but overall he doubled the size of the budgets for those after 7/7 for this reason.
He doubled the budget on those, may I say, partly by removing the operational ability in the field that had a filtering effect.
Jane?
Sure. If I could
please. Yeah, go
quickly cut in, apologies, but under in that kind of period in the 90s, what happened is that many of the Arab countries were kind of kicking out the extremist Islamist scholars and preachers. And what happened is that they applied for asylum in European countries, specifically, especially in Britain.
Yeah.
We accepted them. And actually, we are a laughing stock on the world stage. The Arab countries laugh at us for what we did. And now we're seeing the consequences of that.
Yeah. Before I bring you in, Jane, a member here, Catherine, says, Alex, please ask your guest how many Islamists he thinks he may have crossed in the boats. I know this would be a finger in the air thing, but are you concerned there are terrorists crossing over illegally into Britain as well?
100%. That's already happened.
On the boats, 100%. Absolutely. I have absolutely no doubt whatsoever. None.
Absolutely.
And as I've frequently said, that those boats are not just a risk in terms of immigration, illegal immigration, or whatever consequences that has, but there is absolutely, from my own direct operational experience, people who are people smuggled. That proportion, there is a proportion of those people who are, and we must assume, we know that it's happened in the past, Islamists.
Can I just point something out?
Very briefly, but I want to bring Jane in. Yeah, come on.
I think there's a danger of conflating this with migration, because a lot of the Islamist terror is homegrown, it's converts, and so some of our effort has to be directed towards those ungoverned spaces like gyms and madrasas and so on, where this ideology is incubated, because it's not something we're importing it's something we're actually growing home as well.
We are the 7/7 bombers, obviously, were all Brits, but these two men were foreign nationals.
Yes,
they have been, but I think the problem we face, and absolutely the security services have done an amazing job. Now, with the internet, there is a trend towards just 2 or 3 people becoming radicalised as a cell to put together an operation rather than a wider kind of network thing. And
the father and son duo in Sydney were, of course, very close. That's why the security services couldn't get to them.
Yes, and because of internet communication, we saw training camps that used to be in Pakistan. Now they're more focused in Afghanistan. But it needs certainly more investment. I think Henry's absolutely right. We need to be backing up. When you have people entering the country on small boats, we have no idea who they are. But the human rights appeals that are allowing people to put in an asylum claim, you can say anything. It is ridiculous. Like when you're on a plane to the US, are you a terrorist? Have you ever been involved in? No one is going to say, well, actually, I was a bit.
Can I just now did on the interview.
Paul, do you think that Labour is really doing enough about this? And there's concerns that an Islamophobia definition, or whatever they want to call it, whatever way they spin it, is going to make this situation even worse. More people more fearful of calling out things that they see because they might be accused of being Islamophobic, for example.
But this was always the debate. I mean, when I was working for the counter-terrorism minister, a special advisor looking after prevent, the argument we were having constantly is we need to educate people into what Islamism is and what it isn't, the dangers of conflating it just into Islam as a religion, and equipping politicians in particular popular with the arguments to be able to make those
But don't you
interventions.
think
And
the
I
argument
think we've lost some of that over the last
The
few
argument
years.
should be coming from moderate Muslim
course, and they should
voices
be
to
given-
call it out.
absolutely,
People
yes.
like Suhail, I'm very grateful
Of course,
for
yeah,
his
absolutely.
words.
So, can I ask you this? Do you think that any government, whether it's Conservative or Labour, has been good and effective at tackling this issue?
Good and effective, no. But one politician I would say did have a good grasp or idea or the intention towards it was David Cameron.
Interesting.
I would say that. What actually? It was
Why do you say that?
Because it was interesting. He went to a mosque, apparently, it was reported, and someone approached him and kind of mentioned all these conspiracy theories about who did 9/11. He stormed out of the mosque and then actually did that very significant speech saying
in Berlin,
we
I
need a
remember.
muscular liberalism.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I think the other thing, just if I can circle it around, I know without opening up the immigration debate, but both of these individuals who have been convicted now, one was of no fixed address, apparently not working. So why was he here?
Yeah, I
He's
think
a
a
foreign
lot
national.
of viewers would like to know how long they've been here, how they got
not,
we know
it's,
that
not,
a
it's
lot-
not clear
it's
that he was
not
here on a
been
I
visa.
believe
reported.
they did come over on work visas, but that's a really big part of the
in most
immigration debate,
countries,
isn't
if
it?
your work,
Yeah.
if the work that provided the basis for your visa is no longer there, you lose your job, you're sacked, you're fired, you're made redundant, whatever it
You
is,
leave the country.
then your visa is no longer
right.
valid. So you leave. And the other chap, again, questionable sort of verge of the grey economy. There are the questions to
One
be
thing
looked at.
I do want to add here is that Britain is actually now a net exporter of Islamist extremism. As in, we export Islamism to Muslim countries rather than us
Well, we had the
importing it.
UAE saying
Yeah.
they didn't want students at British
Exactly.
universities. So this is crazy.
Sahel, can I
clearly.
just say thank you so much for joining us this evening. Always very brave when you come on the show, and I really appreciate it, and I know our audience feel the same way, so thank you so much for joining me. On a review of the counter-terrorism framework, the Home Office have previously said the UK has one of the most robust counter-terrorism frameworks in the world, and we continue to strengthen these to reflect the evolving nature of the threat. Prevent continues to play a vital role in this by stopping people from becoming terrorists, and has diverted close to 6,000 people away from violent ideologies. But we know there is further to go, which is why a number of recommendations from the Lessons for Prevent report have been immediately actioned, and its remit and effectiveness is consistently reviewed. And of course, if you want to be in with a shot of winning our new Great British